Bajaj Auto stock has been in focus, with Bank of America upgrading the stock to a buy rating. The bank in a note has said that it sees FY24 as a year of stabilization for the company and FY25 to see high-teen volume growth in exports. The reason for revision in rating is because exports seem to be inflecting, with market drags now behind and electric vehicle production ramp-up taking place with supply chain issues sorted out. In August, two-wheeler sales for Bajaj Auto came in at 285,000, with domestic sales down 31%, exports up 2%. This was a marginal improvement in exports after almost 13 months of a slowdown. In Q1, revenue from operations was a record 10,310 crores, up 29% year-on-year, and highest quarterly EBITDA of rupees 1,954 crores, a growth of 51% year-on-year. In July, the company launched two new premium bikes in collaboration with Triumph, the Street 400 and Scrambler 400X. How are the Triumph bikes adding to Bajaj Auto's sales volumes? What next on the company's premiumization journey? And what is the EV and alternate fuel roadmap really looking at? Also, how is the company gearing up for competition from Ola, TVS and Ather in electric vehicles? Joining us to talk about this all is Rajiv Bajaj, MD of Bajaj Auto. Rajiv, I'd like to begin by asking you, how do sales in domestic market look currently? What about the festive season? Domestic sales have also been under stress because of the entry-level segment.
Hi, Parikshit. Good afternoon. By domestic, I suppose you mean motorcycles. So let me give you a brief commentary on that. The entry segment, which is the 100cc motorcycle, this continues to be under pressure for the industry as a whole. For Bajaj, as you know, this is not a major area of focus. So in that sense, it's not a priority for us. The mid-market, which we define as kind of 125 to 200cc, typically a ex-showroom price of 80,000 to about 1.7 lakhs of rupees. This is what is growing very strongly in recent times. And this is where our focus has been, particularly with our brand Pulsar. I would say we have done rather well here with our product and marketing initiatives. Our market share has climbed steadily over the months to now, around the 30% mark. We are the number 2 player, very close to the number 1 in this mid segment. And as you can imagine, this has been positive, not just for our growth, but also for our EBITDA. So that's one of the reasons why you could reel off some of those numbers on EBITDA, etc. So this will continue to be a very strong area of focus in the near term. And finally, there is the premium segment. We classify that as being motorcycles above 1.7 lakhs of rupees. That is witnessing positive growth. So that's not negative like the entry segment, but not as big or as strong as the mid segment. And whereas, we have some brands like the Pulsar RS, the Dominar, KTM, Husqvarna, and now Triumph, and I would say we are doing very well there, especially with the introduction of the Triumphs.
Right. In terms of entry-level buyers, do you think the market will start looking up with this festive season and beyond?
It's impossible to forecast. There are so many comments on this, on both sides, for and against. But my own sense is that beyond looking at it quantitatively, one needs to look at this segment qualitatively. This is the segment of people at the bottom of the pyramid that have undoubtedly faced the biggest impact of COVID and the consequent actions associated with COVID. And both in terms of real job losses and in terms of sentiment driven primarily, I would say, by petrol prices, this consumer is not coming back like the mid-segment consumer is or the cars consumer is. At the same time, we must also acknowledge that probably this is the consumer that is looking at EVs. So every time somebody buys an electric scooter, and there are almost 60, 70,000 of them being sold in terms of the high-speed vehicles and perhaps many more in terms of the low-speed vehicles, those are not coming only at the expense of the ICE scooters. That is also coming, I'm sure, at the expense of the ICE motorcycle. So personally, I really don't think this consumer is going to come back in the near future, certainly not in this festive season, to where it was pre-COVID. And I think that if, we have to make headway here, we need to do more than just hope for the consumer to rebound. We need some disruptive action in this space.
Right. So that's important. You don't see the entry-level consumer returning, at least in this festive season. But you had promised something special this year for Pulsar fans. In our last interview, you had said that Bajaj Auto will be paying homage to the Pulsar. Could you give us a sense of what to expect and when?
Sure. I would first like to start by saying that since we spoke in the last 2-3 months, we have the new NS160 and NS200 there. We also have, in fact, this month we launched a new Pulsar, the N150, which we are very hopeful of. That it will bring us some great results in this festive season. We've got the timing right. We think we have the product and the price right. And between now and the end of the financial year, over the next 6 months, we would introduce 6 significant upgrades or new Pulsars, all aimed, quite frankly, at further enhancing our share in this mid segment from 30% to, as much as it can rise. We would certainly like to vie for the #1 spot in this position. And I can say that in terms of the question you asked, the direct answer would be this, that for all the Pulsar fans out there, we have plans to launch the biggest Pulsar ever. So currently the biggest Pulsar is the 250cc, the N250 and F250. But we want to launch in this financial year the biggest Pulsar ever. We think we have a fantastic product to offer them, and we want to do it within this financial year so that the full benefit of that in terms of growth and profitability is available to us next year.
Right. So significantly, you said 6 new upgrades to the Pulsar, and one motorcycle will be the biggest ever platform that Pulsar has ever had. Is that right, Mr. Bajaj?
That is correct. So it's a total of 7, 6 plus the big one.
All right. 6 upgraded motorcycles and 1 big one. Could you give us a sense of the kind of engine capacity you'd like to play with there?
No, it's a little early for that.
Okay.
Maybe the next time we speak.
All right. Also, what next on the premiumization journey?
Well, Parikshit, premiumization is now a way of life for all of us. In the 125cc, for example, the reason we've had so much success is because with the various Pulsars we've offered, consumers have responded very favorably to quickly put us in a #2 position, with our 125cc volumes being around 60,000 a month. Similarly, we just spoke about the 150 to 200 space, where again the Pulsars are doing a great job for us in the marketplace. But the most important action for us, and we talked about this the last time we met in July, is going to be premiumization in the premium space. Which, as I referred to earlier, is the 1.7 lakhs plus segment, where, excuse me, so far we've been clocking volumes of about 8,000 a month between the Pulsar, Dominar, KTM and Husqvarna, and we have about 8% market share. So over there, with these 2 major interventions, on the Pulsar with the big one, which will obviously be priced in that segment, and with the Triumphs, not only with the Triumph Speed 400, which we are currently making and selling, but as you know, from October, we have the new Scrambler 400, and then the exports of Triumph will also kick in from October. So all this put together, we are readying capacity for doubling our domestic volume from the present 8,000 a month to somewhere between 15 and 20,000 a month, so that we can be a strong #2 player in this segment in the domestic market. Of course, Enfield with about 70% share currently is the #1. And in terms of exports, we think we will be by far the #1 player, because currently our exports between the Bajaj brands and the KTM brands is about 10,000 a month. And with the new Pulsar and the new Triumphs, we think we will again take exports to 15, 20,000 a month. So all put together in the premium segment, domestic plus exports, we are looking at about 35,000 motorcycles a month, a rate we would like to achieve by the end of this financial year.
All right. In terms of the number of bookings received for Triumph, how many have you received as yet and how many delivered so far?
Okay. So, as you know, for the first 10,000 bookings, we had a special price of 2.23 lakhs. At some point of time, perhaps 4 6 weeks ago, bookings exceeded 20,000 units. I frankly don't know where they stand today, but I do know we have switched to the new price. And in terms of production and deliveries in July, I think we build about 500 vehicles in, or maybe a few more. In August, it was a little more than 3,000. So I would say between July and August, it would be about 4,000. I would imagine about half of that has been delivered to customers. The rest is either, just undergoing final checks at dealerships or on their way in trucks to dealerships. In terms of this month, we are targeting to achieve something like 4,500. Quite frankly, we are limited by capacity right now, or I should say by production actually, of certain parts. And in the near term, our goal is that in the month of January, as I said, on the back of these three elements, the current Speed 400, the new Scrambler, and exports, we should be around the 10,000 mark. And that's a very nice place to be in this segment. It's very profitable, and particularly exports at 3,000 a month and with the rupee at 83 is not a bad thing at all.
Also, to ask you about the Chetak, there have been supply chain issues with the Chetak scooter. Approximately 7,000 units of Chetak were produced in August. How much would you like to take it to? What about exports of Chetaks? And are there new Chetak scooters in the pipeline?
Okay. So there is a kind of small picture answer and a big picture answer. The small picture answer is that yes, we did. I think we dispatched 8,000 vehicles after producing 7,000 in August. Hopefully this month we can do better than that. If we can do 10,000, that would be nice to build up towards the festive season. And certainly our own plan is to exit this financial year at something closer to 15 to 20,000. So we are putting capacity in place for that, not just at our end, but throughout the supply chain. And we do have something on the product front also after the festive season to stimulate further demand. Towards that goal of 15, 20,000. So that would be the answer, the small picture answer. In terms of the big picture, I think the way we are looking at it now and kind of carving out our plans for the future is this, that we are no longer just comparing Chetak volumes with those of its very obvious and immediate competitors. We have to look at the entire market of scooters, which is say about 500,000 a month, and also the entry-level motorcycles, like we talked about the 100cc motorcycle, which is also close to that number. So we are talking about 1 million people out there every month who should be looking at EVs for all that EVs have to offer. And this is not even counting the people who are buying today the low-speed vehicles that fly at under 25 kilometers an hour. So as a OEM that wants to be relevant to the EV future, one would target typically, if not 20%, at least 10%. As a minimum critical mass to be kind of competitive and in the reckoning in this segment. So this means that we now need to think not of 10,000 a month and 20,000 a month, but between Chetak and our partner company Yulu, we need to think about 100,000 a month. And this is what is on our mind right now. So that's the big picture answer.